SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
When your health matters most, trust South Central Regional Medical Center. From family care to life-saving treatment, our team is here for you. Find our services at scrmc.com. South Central Regional Medical Center. Excellent care and service, every patient, every interaction, every time.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby.
Hey, good morning. Welcome in. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, of course, reliably on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations, a dozen of them across all 82 counties and beyond in Mississippi, and of course on the app as well. However you're listening, wherever you're listening, good morning. Thanks for joining us on this 10th day of June, 2026. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. Bank local, bank community. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Sir Lancelot, good morning.
Buenos dias, my man.
Oh, you weren't ready for that. You weren't ready to be Sir Lancelot.
No, I like that. It's been a while, man. The Knight of the Round Table.
Sir Lancelot.
Do you believe in the Knights of the Round Table? You think that existed, I mean, there's always that
Has a cat
debate.
got climbing gear?
I guess, yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I'm a believer in it. Anytime you carry the name Lance, you got to kind of believe in the Knights of the Round Table,
All I know is that little young cat absolutely, without question, grabbed hold of that sword that was stuck in the stone that nobody could pull out, and he yanked it.
He got it out of there, man.
Yeah.
Everybody looked at him like, this little bitty scrawny guy did that? Put it back.
That's
Let's
right.
try it again, man. Let's run it back. Like,
Got it.
that's mine,
No problem. What was his name?
Well, you had King, what's his name? The guy that was in charge of the Round Table. Golly.
Arthur?
Arthur, there you go. King. It was young Arthurs who did that, correct?
That's right.
The lady in the lake and all that stuff.
They've got one of those at Disney World, and I gave it a pull, and I could not do it. I thought I was going to be able to. Wasn't able to get it out.
I think they got it super glued with Gorilla Glue in there.
Yeah,
man.
there's some duct tape wrapped around there down inside the concrete and the rebar.
Orthopedists getting a call when they get back.
What are we talking about? We have much to discuss this morning. Ooh. I mean, there is a lot that's going on. And we're going to enjoy doing that with you over the course of the next 3 hours. Going to be a good day, going to be a hot day. Hot day across the state of Mississippi. I think, unless we just barely got there at some point in the last couple of days, today is our first day where the heat indices are going to be in triple digits in a lot of the state. Tupelo, 93 for your high with a low of 74 tonight. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy. Heat index values possibly reaching 100 degrees or higher. A low chance of isolated showers and thunderstorms with winds out of the south and southwest. Canton in central Mississippi, 92 for your high, 74 for the overnight low. Mostly sunny with a chance of isolated thunderstorms, warm and humid. No mention of any wind for you in Canton, so it may just be kind of a stagnant day. 91 for the high in Hattiesburg, low around 75, partly to mostly sunny, humid with a, again, slight chance of an afternoon thunderstorm. Gulfport, not sure that you're actually going to make it to 90, probably 89 for the high, but it's going to feel a lot warmer than that. 79 is the overnight low. Partly sunny with possible isolated showers and thunderstorms. Very humid with some of those coastal breezes. In summary, hot, humid. It's an early June weather pattern that feels pretty familiar here in the state of Mississippi. Upper 80s, low 90s, muggy conditions.
Yeah.
Welcome to summer.
It's here.
It is here.
Did you get all the yard work done yesterday you were hoping? I know you said you were going to.
I got most of it done. Got the grass mown. Was about 75% through, and then I heard a thumping sound. That's never good. I had AirPods in with the noise canceling, so it was pretty good. Thump, 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 thump. I was like, oh no, something.
It was a belt?
It was a belt. I mean, it had frayed badly. And so I was able to find a belt. And, man, the joy of replacing a deck belt on a zero-turn mower is, it's just one of the great joys in life.
Well, knowing that you have to do that is not joyful, but once you're completed, yeah, it's like you've killed a bear.
I mean, there's so much that is enjoyable, Lance, about rolling around in a concrete driveway when it's 90 degrees in the sun and, all the things that you bang your knuckles and your wrists on and you scratch yourself up with and the grease that ends up inevitably all over the place. But there is a feeling of satisfaction when you finally get that belt to match exactly the way the little diagram shows it.
And that's not easy.
Man, I hope. Yeah.
You almost need an engineering degree to follow that thing around.
You
bunch
do,
of wheels.
And there was a time there's some of you that are listening right now that are saying amen. You're tapping the steering wheel as you drive along, and you're going, amen, brother. I've been there. I know it. I know it. There was a time where there were not as many bolted in place like guide bars or little safety mechanisms to keep the belt from jumping off the pulleys. Because that's the first, I mean, once you get the tension off the main pulley, it really isn't that hard to get it on there, except for the fact that you got to weave that belt. You've either got to loosen the little safety bars to give yourself enough room to get it through, or you somehow got to fight back and forth and kind of thread that
crowbar
thing. Yeah. Jeff, since Ford doesn't make a zero turn, what mower does Richard have? I have a John Deere Z915E. It is a 48-inch zero turn.
The Green Daddy. I like
and it's a good one. It's a good one. I've kind of over the course of 25 years had a little bit of everything between my father-in-law and me in terms of lawnmowers, and my brother-in-law also. John Deere's and X-Marks and Grasshoppers. I think Grasshopper's a good cutting lawnmower too. But that's kind of where I've landed, and it's been really reliable. It's a little small, the 48-inch, but it's perfect for my yard. So, I didn't mean for this to turn into lawn care with Richard Cross, but here we are.
Oh well, I mean, we've solved some issues.
Yeah, I know.
You got the turbo prop on that baby.
Yeah. So you have heard me say before, I think, that I am a gas-powered weed eater man all the way and never will change. My weed eater, and I got a couple of weed eaters, I love all of the Steel products except their weed eater.
I don't like cranking for you.
No, it cranks fine. I just don't like the Steel weed eater for whatever reason. I am of the opinion that Red Max makes the best weed eater on planet Earth.
Red Max, I don't know that.
I mean, they're the best. They're weighted perfectly. They crank easily. They're plenty stout. Whatever. So my Red Max weed eater needed a new carburetor and a new primer bulb and a new gas line that goes into the carburetor and down, and so they called me and they said, "Hey, it's going to be $280 to repair your weed eater." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, how much does a new one cost?" And I was going to be able to get one for like $410.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
like,
prices on them. They're not cheap.
No, they're not. They're not, but they're worth it. And they last and last and last. And they're like, you know what? I'll get a new one. It will have the warranty, the whole deal. But in the process of doing that, I started thinking, do I want just for around the house a battery-powered weed eater?
I love mine for zipping around. I got one of each, though.
Lance, I did it.
You did it.
I did it.
Changes your life, man.
What brand a battery weed eater do you use?
I went when I got a little electric mower. It was called Atlas Northern.
Okay.
What was it? Harbor Freight had them.
Yeah. I got
it's very, very light. I mean, it's like paperweight. You know,
Yeah.
The only thing that weighs anything is the battery on it.
Yeah.
And that was what I was looking for because that still will weigh you down a bit.
I looked at the steel battery-powered weed eaters and thought, okay, maybe, but I've already got some Milwaukee tools, and the Milwaukee batteries are interchangeable with their weed eaters. I gave it a go. The frustration of the battery going out while you're working is real.
Yeah, get you a 6-pack of them. Mortgage the house. You might have to.
Grief, those are high. Yeah. But you know what? I was impressed. I was impressed with that Milwaukee weed eater yesterday.
Got some torque to it.
Yeah, and it's just like you can grab and go and whatever else. I still got all the gas-powered stuff, and I'm not changing my tune completely on that. But the Milwaukee weed eater, Milwaukee got a big plant on I-55 right outside of Grenada, trying to support companies that are doing business in Mississippi. Thumbs up. All right, we'll get into all the other stuff when we come back. Mornings of Richard Cross.
Good morning.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Country music singers have always been a real close family. But lately, some of my kinfolks have disowned a few others than me. I guess it's because I kind of changed my direction. Lord, I guess I went and broke their family tradition.
Come on and tell me, Hank.
Get on me, wanna know, Hank,
Why? Good morning. Good morning.
I love it.
Is that the debut of Family Tradition on Country and Western Wednesdays?
No, I've played it before. There's a couple of them I use.
You sure?
Yeah.
With me here?
Maybe not, though. I'm not sure on that. But, yeah, I love me some country country Hank there, man.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for all of the interaction about tools and lawnmowers. And there was one that you really liked in there, Lance?
Yeah, the best one was, I'm just really impressed that RC replaced the belt and didn't just go out and buy a new mower. I about to spit my coffee out on that one. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Have you priced a new lawnmower lately?
Man.
Yeah. Brother.
Just go buy a used car and figure out how to get a blade on the bottom of it. I think that'd be cheaper.
Yeah. Elizabeth Hurley, born on this day in 1965, the British actress, model, and businesswoman known for films like Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, TV shows like The Royals, and her longtime role as a spokesmodel for Estee Lauder.
Yeah, that's a supermodel right there. Hugh Grant's ex, too. They were together for 13 years. Still besties,
Yeah?
I guess
Got tired of each other?
I think Grant just made some mistakes. Remember the arrest with the solicitation? She stayed with him. She stayed with him after, for a bit, but they've remained friends. But I'm sure it's more him. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I messed up.
Yeah.
My bad.
Judy Garland. Oh, what a legend. 1922 is when she was born, the American actress and singer, iconic for her role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She'll never go home. Starting classics like Meet Me in St. Louis, had a renowned singing career as well.
And do a little singing and dancing and acting back then, generally.
That's right. C-Spire text line, Mike says, okay, Richard, since it works so well on my trips to Lincoln and Auburn, I'm texting in to let you know I'm on the road to Omaha.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah. Get the head start, man.
It was Wednesday of the regional week when he let us know he was headed to Lincoln. Last Wednesday, he let us know that he was headed to Auburn. And today he gives us the heads up. Mike made some social media buzz from the Auburn Regional as well. He's been labeled the Ole Miss super fan.
I love it. Well, and keep us surprised as to how Rocco's is rolling.
Yeah. The funny thing about that is, like, people that actually know Mike are like, well, where have you been for the last decade? This whole super fan thing is not new, but all of a sudden, because he showed up on television a couple of times, now everybody wants to talk to him. It's a good dude. Safe travels, Mike. Safe travels. Who we want to do? Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, was born in 1921. He was the husband of Queen Elizabeth for over 73 years, the longest-serving British royal consort, known for his military service, philanthropy, and his outspoken personality. Hattie McDaniel was born in 1895. The American actress and singer and the first black performer to win an Academy Award. She did so as Best Supporting Actress for the role of Mammy in Gone with the Wind.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Heck of a movie, man.
Nicholas Otto was born in 1932. That's Otto, O-T-T-O, not Auto, A-U-T-O, although Auto might be fitting. He was a German engineer who invented the four-stroke internal combustion engine, the Otto cycle, foundational to modern automobiles.
Thank you, Nicholas. Mr. Otto.
Appreciate that.
I like the Otto cycle. That's a heck of a name.
Yeah. A couple of things happened on this day in history. Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbarossa drowned while crossing the Salif River in what is modern-day Turkey during the Third Crusade, weakening the German contingent. Not good for the Germans.
No.
Speaking of Germans, forgive just a small side note, if you don't mind. There is on X a person by the name of Freddie, who is German. He's a German soccer fan. Actually, a German and Portuguese soccer fan, I believe. I don't know how you blend those two together, probably just through players that you like. He has made his way to the United States and is documenting his travels. And it's not this grumpy European that's like mad at everything. It's he and a friend are traveling on as much of a budget as they can for what is a 6-week sojourn through North America, Canada and the United States, for soccer matches. And he flew into JFK and then down to Atlanta and has rented a car. Started out in Atlanta. I was like, man, you got to start somewhere better than that. But he got up into North Georgia and East Tennessee, like tubing down the Chattahoochee, winding through the back roads of North Georgia and the mountains, and then he shows up at Auburn last night. Auburn had a soccer match at Jordan-Hare. Over 88,000 people showed up. Argentina versus Iceland. They had the Eagle Fly pregame, and this guy, Freddie, I mean, he was just gobsmacked by what he like, I've been to soccer stadiums all over the world. I've never seen anything like this before. Tip of the cap to the Auburn folks. Fun follow, though. Just, I mean, if you want to, Freddie is amazed by America, and he has been very complimentary. But there's stuff that he thinks is weird also. But, I mean, like, he's had his first Waffle House experience and thought it was just the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, he went to one where there wasn't an absolute melee going on.
Yeah. He was frustrated with himself with not paying the $3 to store his tennis shoes when he went tubing on the Chattahoochee. And then had to go to Walmart to buy new shoes. Like, it's kind of fun little adventure to follow along with. Benjamin Franklin conducted his famous kite experiment during a thunderstorm, proving that lightning is a form of electricity.
Yeah, children, do not do this at home.
He was that was on this day in 1752, long before he became one of our longest and most impressive presidents. Outstanding leader, Benjamin Franklin.
What a dude, too. You know, in late years, he goes over to France and, you know, it's basically raising all the money for us to get our freedom.
Yeah.
All the ladies seem to like him a lot, too.
Mm-hmm.
Great personality.
Marines landed at Guantanamo Bay during the Spanish-American War, beginning the American invasion of Cuba on this day in 1898. The 6-day war ends with a UN-mediated ceasefire between Israel and Syria. That was in 1967. 10 years later, 1977, James Earl Ray, the assassin of Martin Luther King Jr., escaped from prison. He was recaptured days later. And today in 1999, the Kosovo War ended as Yugoslav and Serb forces began withdrawing following NATO intervention. That was a big deal when it was going on.
You think about 1868, Serbian Prince Michael III was assassinated, and you had, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand later. It's a tough spot to have some peace, Been going on for a long time. But that at that time, they were trying to overthrow the Ottomans. And so that kind of derailed everything when Michael III was assassinated. So a lot going on over there. But today in history, that was 1868.
I got one, Lance.
What you got?
Johnny in West Point. C-Spire text line. Yes,
you were waiting for it.
I very, very subtly, didn't make too big of a deal of it, just dropped in. Ben Franklin, one of our greatest presidents.
Yeah, I love it. I didn't even say anything. I knew what you were doing.
There's another account on X that's worth a follow. It's called 3-Year Letterman. And he touts himself as one of the greatest youth football coaches of all time. And his idea of a vacation is, staying at a Hampton Inn in Gershwin, Georgia for like 10 days.
Ooh.
And his argument consistently is that Benjamin Franklin is the greatest American president. That why are we not all Christians when Jesus was the greatest American of all time?
I like it, man.
And on and on. If you don't follow 3-Year Letterman, it's worth a chuckle from time to time. The best part about it is when somebody replies to him, "Why would we listen to you, you moron? You don't even know that Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president." Yes, got him.
Got him. Baited that hook.
Thanks, Johnny. Appreciate you playing the role this morning. We got a lot of news. We got a bunch of sports. We've got guests coming up this morning, as we do most days, including a conversation with Jay McDaniel, Executive Director of the Mississippi Gaming Commission. And Scott Waller and Courtney Taylor are going to be by in the 8 o'clock hour this morning. Good to be back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. We're back in just a couple of minutes.
From the Sea Road, take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day. All on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Making your way the only way they know how. Yeah. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow. I'm a good old boy. You know
my mama loves me.
Better.
A ribbon-cutting ceremony was held in Clinton yesterday to celebrate a $1 billion data center project. Officials with the city, Hinds County, and Amazon Web Services gathered at the Delphi building on Industrial Park Drive that formerly housed the Milwaukee Tool Warehouse to highlight the occasion. 1,500 construction workers for the initial building purpose, 100 new jobs, and an outlet to give back to the community. Amazon expected to give millions of dollars annually to the city, funding going to the local school district and other municipal functions. Many of the concerns from the community have been allayed as Clinton Mayor Will Purdy addressed his constituents and pointed to the fact that it would be illegal for energy providers to pass along any of the costs associated, and that from an environmental standpoint, the Clinton facility is not using any water. And from a noise standpoint, that, hey, we're not doing those temporary gas turbines that are noisy. One of 4 data centers going in Mississippi on behalf of Amazon, the others in Canton, Madison, and Vicksburg. A multi-agency effort led to the recovery of a body from the Mississippi River over the weekend. First responders, led by the Coahoma County Fire Department, responded to the scene on Saturday. Officials did not disclose the exact location along the river where the body was recovered. No identifying information about the individual. An investigation underway to determine the circumstances surrounding the death. Coahoma County firefighters, MDWFP, Arkansas Game and Fish, Helena Fire Department, DeSoto County Sheriff's Department, Phillips County, Arkansas Sheriff's Department, Mississippi Task Force 1, and DeSoto County Emergency Services. That is quite the crew all coming together to make this work. Did you hear about this one? A man accused of assaulting an employee at Taco Bell in Madison over the weekend has been arrested. John Michael Beal, 43-year-old, entered the restaurant on West Main around 2:30 to pick up a delivery order. He found out that the order was not yet ready. This according to the Madison Police Department. Order wasn't ready, and he became agitated, damaged the cash register, and then threw it at an employee. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I mean,
who among us?
He's Hulk.
I mean, cash registers have gotten a little smaller through the years. Now it's just like a screen in a drawer. Can you imagine one of those old-style cash registers, the big, like 2-foot square ones or 2 cubic feet cash registers? The drawer built in and the big keys on it? The old J.C. Penney cash register? You remember those, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like punch key.
Oh,
man. Had to hammer that thing.
Threw the cash register at the employee. Then he tried to leave.
I wonder how many
Coward.
I wonder how many of the employees hit the ground trying to grab the cash.
Yeah, the thought entered my mind. Yeah. Beal attempted to leave, exiting the restaurant, getting into his vehicle before officers arrived. Responding officers met him in the parking lot. They were able to take him into custody. Misdemeanor malicious mischief and simple assault by threat. Released on bond. Going to be heard in Madison Municipal Court.
That's crazy. Crazy. People, calm down. The food's going to get ready at some point.
So an Uber Eats driver that's mad that the order's not ready, and so he takes it out on the employees by throwing the cash register at them.
Temper tantrums usually don't work out well.
Port of Gulfport cleared a major hurdle on Tuesday, which would be yesterday, in its effort to deepen and widen its shipping channel. Lieutenant General William H. Butch Graham Jr., that is quite the name, Chief of Engineers for the Army Corps of Engineers, signed a report recommending the project for authorization through the Water Resources Development Act, legislation Congress uses to approve major water infrastructure projects nationally. The recommendation puts the project up for consideration in this year's Water Resources Development Act, and it marks a significant step forward for a proposal that Mississippi leaders have been seeking for 2 decades. Next challenge, how do we pay for it? An estimated $548 million project cost would be split, 75% federal, 25% state and local. The governor weighed in on this yesterday. He said it's a major win for Mississippi and the Gulf Coast. Mississippi has worked for nearly 2 decades to move this project forward, and this approval marks an important milestone in the process. Currently, 36 feet deep and 300 feet wide. This expansion will take it to 46 feet deep and 350 feet wide, allowing larger modern vessels to access the port, increase cargo capacity, and improve efficiency. Get her done.
Yeah, make that money.
One more for you. A Biloxi woman faces up to 20 years in prison for slashing a man's throat with a box cutter. How do we...
They're
when
like
we
just
say
carrying them around?
when we say box cutter, what particular knife, bladed object are we talking about? I'm going to do an image search real quick.
Got to be that little flick it out thing with a razor blade.
Oh, yeah. Well,
razor blade
the one where you get like 45 degrees of it out. Okay. Always interesting to just have a box cutter handy. Yeah, or I guess you can get just the little rectangle box cutter also. Anyway. All right. So we all know what a box cutter is. I just wanted that visual. District Attorney W. Crosby Parker yesterday said that Kendra Beth Clark, 44 years old, was convicted on May 28th. She was found guilty of one count of aggravated assault after a 2-day trial. According to Assistant District Attorney Megan J. Smith, big initial day, on March 21st, March 21st, 2025, Clark verbally confronted an unidentified male victim who was speaking with a friend outside of Hotel Legends.
Okay.
Before cutting the individual's throat with a box cutter, causing a severe wound. The jury heard from the responding officer who recovered the box cutter and apprehended Clark within an hour. Additionally, the jury heard Clark's testimony and an eyewitness, as well as a lead investigator, Melissa Holzer with the Biloxi Police Department. She had video footage of the assault, further strengthening the case. Clark later confessed to the assault, and she explained why. Said that she had been, quote, disrespected, close quote, and stated that she was a, quote, cutter of men who disrespect women, close quote.
Man, I've never heard that before, but...
Lorena Bobbitt would like a word.
Yeah.
After a 30-minute deliberation, the jury returned with a guilty verdict. Honestly, they just wanted time to eat their lunch. They needed 3 minutes to come up with the verdict and the other 27 to eat the lunch that the court bought for them. Clark awaits a sentencing date, July 16th, 2026, when she will face up to 20 years of service in the Mississippi Department of Corrections.
Yeah, won't be any men around there. Try to cut.
There's a football game that my alma mater was involved in that was stopped many years ago because a player on the opposing team had a box cutter in his sock.
What?
Yes.
In the game?
Yes.
Oh, man. You worried about a package getting delivered during the game?
No, Oxford was playing at Louisville, and they stopped the game. Cat had a box cutter in his sock. He wasn't going to find himself on the bottom of that pile and have somebody gnawing somewhere they weren't supposed to be gnawing. He's going to be able to fight back. I believe box cutters were weapons used on one of the 9/11 planes. That's on the C-Spire text line. Thomas says cutting was a Delta thing back in the day. Lance, I noticed the country theme this morning. Unless you already have all the bumpers loaded, I got a request for one before I get out of range.
Yes, sir.
The verse from C.W. McCall's Convoy that contains the word Convoy. Omaha.
Yeah. Convoy. We played that one a couple of times. Yeah.
Thought we were going to go with Counting Crows, Omaha. We'll have to save that for a non-country,
non-country.
Western
I don't want to
day.
go against the grain here.
We have a lottery update to get to. We have sports headlines to get to. We've got guests on the way this morning. A genuine pleasure to be spending part of this Wednesday morning with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross.
Good morning from the...
From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good morning to you. Today is June 10th, 2026. Time for your Mississippi Lottery update. MSLottery.com. No jackpot winner on that big Mega Millions drawing last night. It is up to $413 million for the jackpot, with an estimated cash value of $182,600,000. That next drawing comes up on Friday. Tonight's jackpot for Powerball, $238 million, with a cash value of $106,100,000. Congratulations to the latest winners in the Mississippi Lottery's Wheel of Fortune bonus promotion. Cash prizes awarded across Mississippi and beyond. $15,000 to a player in Ridgeland, $10,000 to a player in Columbus, $7,500 to a player in Newton, $5,000 to a player in Baldwin. Additional prizes of $2,500 went to players in Edwards, West Point, and Hamilton, Alabama. The excitement isn't over. 4 drawings remain, with the next winner being announced on June 23rd. Enter non-eligible winning. Let me try that again. Enter eligible, non-winning, $2, $5, and $10 Wheel of Fortune scratch-off tickets into the Second Chance portal through the Mississippi Lottery app or at mslottery.com for your chance to win cash prizes. Every entry also eligible for the grand finale drawing, where 2 lucky winners will receive a trip to L.A. for a live taping of Wheel of Fortune, plus $20,000 in cash. That is your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery.
Is Vanna still around on the...
I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe so. Time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort is your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. It is hot outside. Good place to cool off. Geyser Falls Water Park, part of Pearl River Resort. Learn more at pearlriverresort.com. Former Ole Miss golfer Jackson Suber endured golf's longest day on Monday, and he qualified to compete in the 2026 U.S. Open. He was playing in a qualifier at Woodmont Country Club in Rockville, Maryland, and claimed one of the 4 spots available in that qualifier. He was the medalist, the first-place finisher, shooting a 10-under, 65-67, and he lands in the U.S. Open for the second time in his career. Played in it in 2024 also. Suber was at Ole Miss from 2018 until 2022, one of the most decorated golfers in the Chris Malloy era at Ole Miss. All-SEC player, All-American honoree in his senior season. The 126th United States Open Championship will begin next week, June 18th, at Shinnecock Hills in Southampton, New York, out on Long Island. Suber's playing well. He recently got his first career top 5 finish at the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson, he finished 4th there. Gary and Tishomingo says, yes, it is Ryan Seacrest and Vanna White.
Ryan Seacrest. They're both been dipped in something that keeps you from aging, I think. Mm-hmm. Seacrest looks brand new still.
Carolina Hurricanes even the Stanley Cup final at 2 games apiece last night with a 5-3 win over the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas. If you are a hockey fan, I think this has been a pretty entertaining Stanley Cup final. The SEC presidents and chancellors jumped on a call yesterday with Senators Cruz and Cantwell to talk more about the state of college athletics. Donnie Plowman, the chancellor at the University of Tennessee, is chair of the presidents and chancellors of the SEC, and she issued a statement. They sincerely appreciate the opportunity to meet with the senators regarding the Protect College Sports Act. It was a productive dialogue that enabled them to directly address the common views shared by member institutions in the SEC, while also recognizing the positive elements of the bill. She said, we were particularly encouraged that today's conversation affirmed a shared understanding of what will be required to secure a sustainable future of college sports, delivering the stability and certainty that our student athletes deserve and our fans want. We share a common goal of supporting student athletes, universities, athletic programs, and the millions of fans who make college athletics such an important part of communities across the country. Summarizing that, They don't like the bill as it exists right now. They don't think it has enough teeth in it, and it needs work. The SEC and the Big Ten do not support the, Protect College Sports Act as it exists right now. Big 12 athletics directors held a call to air their grievances yesterday over the Brendan Sorsby ruling by a court in Texas. This is the college football player that has admitted to gambling, including on his team when he was at Indiana. Let me summarize the meeting. It was kind of like an HOA Zoom call in which everybody but the neighbor in question was on the call. And they were all mad. And the HOA will let you get away with some stuff with like small penalties and fines. Like you leave your trash can on the street too long. You got a pile of dirt in your side yard that needs to be moved. You hadn't mowed your yard long enough. They'll let you get by with a fine on that. Problem is, this one family decided to put a swimming pool in the front yard. And that is a line you just don't cross. Yeah. And all of the members of the HOA were big mad. And they're talking about kicking him out of the neighborhood. That's the summary of the Big 12 AD call yesterday. 7 o'clock hour on the way after the news.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Good morning, Mississippi. You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
So we crashed the gate doing 98. I says, let them truckers roll 10-4.
Cause we got a mighty convoy rocking through the night. Yeah, we got a mighty convoy. Ain't she a beautiful sight? I wanna join our convoy. Ain't nothing gonna get in our way. We're rolling, stuck in the convoy. Cross the USA.
All right, 10-4, Big Ben. What's your 20? Omaha. Well, they ought to know what to do with them homes out there.
By request from Mike in Oxford, en route to Omaha, there you go. Little convoy. Well done,
yeah,
Lance.
C-Dub, man. Love the picture of it. He's just laying there in the field, picking daisies or something, laying on his side. Old school music's the best, man.
Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank. Ever notice how some places still know your name? At Community Bank, that's how banking works. We're a bank that knows community because we live here. And when you walk in, you're more than an account number. No matter what your banking needs are, here you will talk to real people who care about your goals. Community Bank, a local bank built on relationships. Stop by your neighborhood location or learn more at communitybank.net. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. This is MRC. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday morning, the 10th of June. The 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today. 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Yesterday, President Trump said there's going to be a response. There has to be a response to a U.S. Apache helicopter that was shot down by the Iranians. U.S. military launched airstrikes on Wednesday, earlier today, on Iran following the crash of an Army helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz that President Trump blamed on the Islamic Republic. Now, Tehran has vowed to respond, throwing into question efforts to reach a permanent ceasefire in the Iran war that's seen the Strait of Hormuz effectively choked off and global energy prices spiking. Missile alert sirens sounded in the island kingdom of Bahrain, home of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet, which Tehran said it targeted for retaliation. Fighter jets from the U.S. Air Force and Navy conducted the strikes, the U.S. military's Central Command said, targeting air defense, ground control stations, and surveillance radar sites. Iran acknowledged strikes around Bandar Abbas and Qasem Island, but gave no details on the damage. Central Command said the operation was a proportional response to recent attacks on U.S. forces and international commercial ships transiting regional waters. Trump said in a social media post that Iran had shot down the aircraft while it was on patrol over the strait and declared the U.S. must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Iran's top diplomat said foreign military forces near its territory are at constant risk, and later vowed that there would be a response to the new U.S. strikes. Iranian forces, quote, will leave no attack or threat unanswered, close quote. That's according to the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Leave our region if you want to be safe, he said. The downing of the Apache attack helicopter, the strikes by the military, further strained the 2-month sort of ceasefire. And it came a day after Iran and Israel exchanged fire for the first time since the fragile truce took place. Iranian state television said on Tuesday that the Israeli attacks killed at least 2 members of the country's air defense units. Whew. It's powder keg. And there are cans of gas and available lighters and matches all around. A bill to provide nearly $70 billion for immigration enforcement narrowly passed in the House yesterday, and now it goes to President Trump's desk for his signature. That signature is expected to happen today. Republicans used their majority by the hair of their chinny chin chin to get the bill over the finish line, funding a pair of Homeland Security agents through the next 3 years, meaning through the remainder of Donald Trump's administration. The bill passed by a vote of 214 to 212 over objections by Democrats. The White House bill will provide $38 billion for ICE over the next 3 years, $26 billion for Border Patrol, and another $5 billion for unforeseen costs. It front-loads routine annual funding, ensuring a virtually uninterrupted flow of money as the Trump administration seeks to deport a reported 1 million people per year. Speaker Mike Johnson needed near-perfect attendance and unity on his side to complete weeks of action. This is where the legislation got sidetracked over the last month or so, with the $1 billion allocated for White House security, including for the new ballroom, and $1.8 billion to fund and compensate allies of the president who claim they have been unjustly investigated and prosecuted. Those proposals proved politically toxic and were scrapped. Yes. Thomas says, and I was going to bring this up next, actually, says, speaking of ICE, I see the liberals in Oxford are upset over some actions around my fair city. I don't have all of the details on this. I actually have reached out to learn more about this. There was what appeared to be a coordinated roadblock effort yesterday on Highway 7 to pull over, identify, and arrest illegals who were on the road. What Thomas is referring to is the people that are saying, hey, this was a targeted apprehension of workers who were making their way home at the end of the day, presumably to the DeSoto County and Memphis areas. I do not have that as fact at this point, but based on some of the videos that you see online, there's a long backup of traffic. There were a number of cars that were pulled off on the side of the road and were left as illegals were apprehended, presumably to be deported. But I guess we'll see where that goes. And yeah, there were a lot of people that were really, really upset about that yesterday, pointing to the fact that, hey, these are people that are working, trying to make money to take care of their families, and they were targeted with this, I don't know, do you call it a sting operation?
I don't know. I understand people being upset about, ripping folks out of the country and, they're working and all that. But, if you really tried to go do this in any other country, just break in and start making a living and don't pay taxes and, get all the goods, I don't think it's going to work out well for you. I just don't understand sometimes why we here think that it's, we got to be the nicest of people all the time. And we are. I think America's a wonderful place, great people. Obviously we have our issues, but we're very accommodating, if you compare us to the rest of the world.
C-Spire text line, somebody said people love ICE raids until they come to their town. I don't think there's any...
I don't think anybody loves them.
Yeah, that I think is a mischaracterization.
Yeah.
I think you can be for controlling the border, for closing the border, for having a process of making sure that illegal immigrants are not coming into the United States unchecked and unvetted, and still have compassion.
Sure.
For people whose lives are uprooted, whether they are here legally or not. Mm-hmm. You can still have compassion for those whose lives are uprooted and families are separated.
I totally agree. I'm not trying to be cold. It's just as we look at the accommodation and the hospitality of this country, I think it can be taken advantage of by some. Not all, of course.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what somebody is referring to. Says it's kind of what our country was founded on. If you're talking about immigrants coming to the United States, yes, I would agree with that.
Sure.
There's a difference, though, in legal and illegal immigration. If we get more information on that story, then we will share it with you. I promise. Jay McDaniel will join us next. He's executive director with the Mississippi Gaming Commission. We'll talk about what is going on with the commission, where we are with some of the illegal gambling initiatives that the Gaming Commission has embarked on, and a whole lot more. That's coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good morning.
Want to know what's being said in the halls of the Capitol? You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross continues on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. 'Cause you got to know when to hold 'em.
Good morning, Kenny Rogers. The one plan from C-Spire is here. Fiber home internet and wireless, only $99 a month for a new, for both new and current C-Spire customers. One plan, one price, one experience, zero compromises. Get started now at cspire.com/oneplan. C-Spire, customer inspired. C-Spire text line open to you at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Our first guest this morning is Jay McDaniel, Executive Director with the Mississippi Gaming Commission. Jay, good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning, Richard. Doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for some of your time. Just kind of an overall update right now from what is going on at the Gaming Commission.
So things are busy right now. The gaming in general, casino gaming, is steady so far this year. We've done 5 months so far, and it's the coastal market's a little ahead of last year, and the river markets are a little down. So we're pretty much even from last year, where we did over $2.4 billion in gaming revenue. State gets 8% of that, so that's very important to us. But I don't know if you've read in the news. There's a lot of acquisitions proposed out there. Tillman Fertitta, our ambassador to Italy, who owns Entertainment Empire. He's got the Golden Nugget here in Mississippi, and they have a purchase agreement, or in the process of possibly purchasing Caesars, which is a huge acquisition. And Caesars has 4 properties here. So Right now, the Gaming Commission, my 3 commissioners would have to review and approve that here, as he would have to do in all the states he does business, but that's going on. And then you have the People Inc. empire, the Barry Diller empire, has now proposed to purchase MGM. So those are 2 very large, gaming consolidation acquisitions kind of floating out there. And there are a few others you may read about in the coming weeks or months. So with that said, just a lot going on out there in the world.
Jay, what is the general feeling of the board with the Gaming Commission about acquisitions like that? When you look at big groups compared to individual operators?
So, in Mississippi, we're very open market. So the way we look at things is, we don't scrutinize maybe like the FTC does about, you obviously don't want to oversaturate one market, but that's kind of antitrust guys look at that. The feds look at that from a Mississippi standpoint. If it's good for, just business in general, if it still creates a strong gaming environment, a lot of times these will put better quality out there. You got one by maybe a couple of properties that were distressed and make them better. That's what the commissioners want. The commissioners are smart businessmen, do not want to get in the way of development, business growth. So it's really, unless there's a major issue, Richard, where we see a problem that this is going to create, say down in Biloxi, at the end of the day, it's like, where our gaming operations meet our regulations, meet our requirements, and you'll be a good corporate citizen. Those are the primary goals here. So make sure they're run by a good company.
You mentioned that the coast casinos are outpacing the river casinos in terms of revenue. I think most people know kind of the evolution of gaming in Mississippi. It started in Tunica County with Splash all those years ago. I guess it's been over 30 years ago now. And then we saw more that kind of popped up. Obviously, Tuna became a gaming mecca. You had Vicksburg. You had Lula right there at the Helena Bridge, which was Isle of Capri forever. I don't even know if that's the name of the casino at this point.
It is.
Are those, is life support, Tunica looks vastly different than it did 20 years ago, maybe even a decade ago, and they're properties that have left. Is life support the best way to describe the gaming industry along the river and specifically in Tunica?
I think for Tunica, if it's not life support, it's really close, Richard. Fortunately, we have some good operators there. Ken has a property there. Foundation Gaming runs a good property there. Caesars has. So, they have the capital to put in and keep them going. But man, I've closed 4 up there in the last 10, 12 years. And closing 4 casinos in a market, that's almost half the market. We still have 5 in Tunica, but we had 10. So, back when Harrah's closed, Harrah's was the large one that had the convention center, the golf course, 3 hotels. When that one closed, and it was really a matter of just too much property, that kind of started this trend of Tunica just wasn't what it used to be. It is still a popular gaming market. They're just doing half of what they used to do. So that's why I don't want to say fully life support, in that I think it will still continue to be a market. I just don't see it ever being what it was, absent some kind of change in the market conditions, and not just gaming, just economic development in the area. Tennessee has mobile sports wagering, so people aren't going to drive down from Memphis like they used to. Arkansas has upped their game. The racetracks there now have nicer casinos. So it's nothing, no fault of our operators up there. It's just the market conditions, harder to bring customers to that area.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you next, is how much of what they've done in West Memphis at Southland and what Saracen has done kind of in the Arkansas Delta, that southeastern part of Arkansas, has been the impetus for the downward trend with those Delta casinos, specifically in Tunica.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. 2011, we had just come out of the recession, so you'd already been hit with kind of an economic downturn. Then the flood, if you remember, 2011, big flood, the casinos closed for about a month. And that happened to be the exact same time that Southland did an expansion. And they just started going hard with targeted ads, come to Southland, Tunica's awful. I mean, some of it was really some nasty marketing. And so they picked up a lot of that Memphis market that just kept going over there, even when the casinos reopened. So just that was kind of the catalyst, and it just hasn't really recovered since. And then you throw in the expansion of Midwestern gaming, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri. People used to drive down 55, from Chicago to come to Tunica because there just weren't casinos in the area. Now there are, and they're expanding up there. So, and it's something, I mean, it's a lesson that our state just needs to continue to watch. I mean, the coast is great now, but you legalize it in Alabama or Georgia or Texas, you could start to see the same thing there. So we're always watchful for that.
Well, and that's a really interesting point. I'm curious if there are other places in the United States where you've looked at kind of a boom and bust cycle with casinos. They come in, people are super excited about them, and then over time, maybe they don't invest in them, or maybe they do invest in them, but new options are available. Are there other places where you have seen kind of the rise and fall of entire areas of gaming?
I don't know to the level that we're seeing in Tunica, simply because if you think, Richard, 30 years ago when Tunica and everything was really growing, it was really Nevada, us, and Atlantic City. I mean, those are kind of the three big markets, and Tunica was the third biggest market in the U.S. New Jersey experienced a downturn in Atlantic City, very similar.
I was wondering if Atlantic City might be what you pointed to.
Yeah, Atlantic City definitely saw a downturn. Recession era, 2008, but they did a really good job of, unfortunately, I can't point to any particular, economic driver other than the operators there got together. And I do believe they worked together with their gaming commission, with their state. What can we do to improve the view of Atlantic City? And not all of the casinos came back, but the ones that did, fortunately, you had corporations willing to put money into them. And so now the 7 or 8 that are there, or I believe it was 12 before, I may be wrong, but some of them left, but the ones that came back better. And I think you've seen a resurgence in Atlantic City. And I tell you one thing New Jersey did, I'm not saying this is, the online gaming thing is a big, a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but what New Jersey recognized is New York is about to take a lot of our business away because New York's got gaming now. So they allow their operators to start doing online gaming to try and get people, from the edges of New Jersey to continue to game and not leave and go into New York. And that helped them. And so I'm not saying that's something that should be done, but that's one thing they point to that. New Jersey will tell you that online gaming for them worked because it kept people in the edges of the state from leaving and going into New York and Pennsylvania. So all that to say, it's just an example of a state kind of looking at it and saying, this works for us. We need to do something to change. Don't just sit on the old model. And that's what they've done.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I posted something on X about a week ago. I was watching, I guess it was an NBA Finals game, and DraftKings has a series of ads that are running right now where they point to being available in all 50 states, which is certainly a change, and it has to do with prediction markets. I'll ask you about that on the other side of the break if we can, because we've had this conversation about online gaming in Mississippi and whether or not mobile sports betting should be legal. Should it be anything beyond mobile sports betting? We'll pick the conversation up with Jay McDaniel there on the other side of this timeout. He's the executive director with the Mississippi Gaming Commission. We'll take a quick timeout. We got more coming up with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're back with you right after this.
From the Seabrook, get the inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I feel tears welling up cold and deep inside, like my heart's full of big break. And a stab of loneliness, sharp and painful, that I may never shake. You might say that I was taking it hard since you wrote me off with a call. But don't you wager that I'll hide in sorrow when I may lay right down and fall. Now the race is on and here comes pride in the back.
Back with you, Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. We get more reaction on Country Music Wednesdays than any other day of the week. From our guests, from listeners, everybody's on board with the bump music. Jay McDaniel is my guest, Executive Director with the Mississippi Gaming Commission. Certainly appreciate your time this morning. You're a country music guy?
Absolutely, especially 1990s country music, because I think Lance is.
Yes. Of course. I mean, we grew up with that stuff, didn't we, Jay?
You know what I love, though,
Absolutely.
Jay? My kids, I mean, we're in 2026 right now, and my 16-year-old daughter in particular, I think she knows every word to every song that plays on Prime Country, which is 90s country for us.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Tease this before the break. So the mobile sports betting and online gaming conversation is one that rolls on in Mississippi, and it rolls on without any movement from the legislature over a number of years, particularly online sports betting. I mentioned this to you before the break. During a recent sporting event, I saw an ad from DraftKings saying that they were now available in all 50 states, and it caused you to go, hold on a second. I don't think we've got mobile sports betting in Mississippi. What's this? And so I dug a little bit. They have launched what they call a super app, in which side by side with their traditional online sports betting, they now have prediction markets that are available. Kalshi is the one that I guess has made that most popular. It's basically the buying of contracts, so it technically is not sports betting. Even though it absolutely is sports betting. What is the impact on Mississippi by that?
So, yeah, the Kalshi situation that has been created by the regulation of the CFTC that is basically allowing their licensees under federal law to operate these exchanges has now opened up the floodgates of what, like you say, appears to be sports betting, just like our licensees do it. But it's the nuances of it fit under this federal law that Kalshi and even the CFTC, our federal government, is arguing this preempts state law. So even if I say it's illegal, it doesn't matter because this law makes it legal under the federal regime. So what's happened, Richard, is Kalshi was kind of the first. They've been doing it for a year now. You and I talked about this in February, and I warned our operators. I was like, look, guys, this is not stopping anytime soon. They just had a $22 billion valuation of Kalshi. One, because they are doing something that's very popular, and because of the position of our current administration and the CFTC that it fits under that law. Until the Supreme Court says it doesn't, I think it's going to continue to happen. And 6 months ago, I would have told you, I think eventually the Supreme Court shuts this down, but every day that goes by, there are more federal circuits. Some are siding with the states. Some are siding with the operators in the CFTC. The CFTC has actually started suing states that are trying to enforce their state laws. So if you wonder why it's happening here, it's because it really, at this point, can't be stopped, not immediately. It takes a long, drawn-out litigation, and that's what we're seeing nationwide. So a company like DraftKings that was operating legally in the sports betting space, doing fine with fantasy and sports, has to say, well, if Kalshi's going to do it, can we get in that game too? But for them, they got to be very careful because they have these gaming licenses. And so in Mississippi, it's on their app, but you should not be able to buy a sports contract here because they've got an agreement. They're going to have that offering, but not with sports. But that may be different in Alabama. It may be different in Tennessee. That's why you see them saying, we've got something in all 50 states. It may just look a little different state by state. So it's just chaos. It really is. And it's very frustrating.
All right. So to be clear, if I want to download the DraftKings app onto my phone and I want to bet on if I want to buy a contract on the Ole Miss North Carolina baseball game on Friday night, I cannot do that in Mississippi right now?
Not on the DraftKings app, or you shouldn't. If you can, I'll talk to them. But you can on Kalshi because Kalshi is not a licensee of ours, and they don't care what we say. So right now, you can go on Kalshi. I'm not trying to plug them, but you can pick the North Carolina Ole Miss matchup and buy a contract. It's they've got North Carolina as a slight advantage. So if you pay $100 on Ole Miss, your contract's going to pay more than your contract on North Carolina. And their argument is, if Richard buys that contract on one side, Jay's buying it on the other, and they're basically swapping with each other. The house is not involved; it just takes a fee. But that's really the same thing that goes on in a sports book. Is they change the line to get money on both sides. That's how they make money. They don't want everyone betting on one side. So it is. It's for the listeners that don't know, it's very interesting. It's just kind of where we are right now.
The reaction online that I got to that post a week or so was mixed. I mean, there were people who said that gambling is immoral and it is a tax on the poor, and it's not something that we need in Mississippi. There was a response on there from the Speaker of the House, Jason White, who said, hey, let's be clear. When you say the state has not allowed this to move forward, it's the Senate that has not allowed this to move forward. He pointed out that the House had passed online sports betting legislation multiple times, and it had died in the Senate. So I guess we should get that out there. I'm not trying to be too generic when I say the state. At this point, does it even make sense for the legislature, the Senate in particular, to say, we give up, make it legal, let's collect the tax revenue? Or is it, as Senator Blunt said to me a few months ago, it's really not enough revenue to worry about anymore?
Yeah, those are tough questions, and I'm not elected to answer those. But you're right. I mean, we talked about that in February. Even I mentioned, I know that operators don't like the argument, well, someone else is doing it, so we should too. But you got to consider that, Richard, is that Kalshi is getting bigger. If eventually the Supreme Court authorizes it, then do you come in and say, okay, well, we might as well do it too, because this is for 18-year-olds, not just 21-year-olds. And the problem gambling, unfortunately, I hate it, but it's going to likely occur. So let's get some skin in the game. Let's, if we were to legalize it, my argument would be to put some of that tax revenue into problem gambling resources, Department of Mental Health. Ole Miss just launched the Center on Collegiate Gambling. I don't know if you read that. I'm glad they did that. The IHL approved that. I think they said it's $700,000 a year to run this. Well, let's fund it with that tax revenue, because I'm glad they're doing that. I want to see those statistics. I have a son in college, that worries me. So all that to say is it's tough. I get it. But it just gets bigger and bigger, the illegal market. And unfortunately it is, and I think every state regulator will tell you, it's probably here to stay. So it's just going to have to be, if the Senate wants to make the decision, hey, we'll fight it another way. Give me the tools to fight it. Let's do that.
Jay, is this just a new chapter in a really, really old book? A book about gambling where people will find a way if they want to gamble, period?
I think so, Richard, but it used to be you had to drive to that corner store that had machines in the back, or you had to go to your bookie, physically, or call him on the phone. The thing about that is 10 years ago, if I got a call from a sheriff that he had a little place with illegal machines, sure, my guys would drive up there, destroy the machines, seize the funds, charge them, easy. You can't do that anymore. It's all through your mobile device. And I don't have the the ability to reach into a foreign country and stop them from doing it. I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. It's going to take Department of Justice. It's going to take major state action, RICO kind of cases. And even if you get one or two, there's 100 more doing it. And so it's hard. That's why I say it's frustrating. Last session, the House passed the online gambling. The Senate passed the penalties bill that I'd asked for to make these felonies. And that's what I mean by giving me the tools to make it easier to go after them. And both failed, unfortunately. So we're just kind of sitting here where we were, last year. But I'll say this, my guys, I got a good team here. We are working up cases. They just take time. Then you got to have a prosecutor willing to prosecute them. So we're doing our best right now, and hopefully we'll see some results in the near future.
Appears to be an uphill battle.
It definitely is.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah. Jay, always appreciate your time and your insight. I think we covered a lot of ground there, and it's good to catch up with you. Hope you have a great summer, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Thank you, Richard.
Jay McDaniel, Executive Director with the Mississippi Gaming Association. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour on this 10th of June, 2026, coming up in just a few minutes. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. We're back with you after this.
Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
From the Venable
Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Maybe the first song that I remember from family road trips.
Oh, yeah.
On a tape.
I think that was 8-track era.
Well, I'm sure it was 8-track, and then it made its way to cassette tape as well. And I remember that thing ending and be like, rewind it, play it again.
Oh, yeah.
Because all you wanted to hear was, giddy up, boom, bop, boom.
Bow, giddy.
Oh, so good.
Yes, sir.
So good. A story that is dominating social media this morning. Everywhere you look, there are reactions to it. There were protests outside of McKinney Courthouse yesterday after a Texas teenager who fatally stabbed a 17-year-old track athlete from a rival team during a high school meet was convicted of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison yesterday. McKinney is a suburb of Dallas. It's part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. A jury rejected Carmelo Anthony's claims of self-defense during a confrontation with Austin Metcalf in stadium bleachers last year. Most people who testified were students who described a heated exchange over Anthony's refusal on a rainy spring day to leave a tent that belonged to Metcalf's team. Anthony, who is now 19 years old, did not testify at trial. Only his mother took the stand during the sentencing phase, telling jurors that her son was sorry, which is a bit of a change in reaction to some of what we saw from Carmelo Anthony in the immediate aftermath. Notoriety spread about this case. There were a ton of social media posts that amplified the killing in racial terms. Not that it should matter, but Carmelo Anthony is black and Austin Metcalf was white. Lawyers on both sides, both the plaintiff and the defense, told jurors that the tragedy had nothing to do with race. Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, who understandably is very emotional, being that his son was murdered, has criticized those who have sought to stoke racial divisions. The father, Jeff Metcalf, given the opportunity to address Carmelo Anthony in the courtroom, said, "You failed your parents, you failed yourself, and you failed society." Jurors deliberated for less than 3 hours on the verdict. They had the option of going with the lesser charge of manslaughter, but chose not to do so. There are a lot of protesters that were outside the courthouse in McKinney, Texas, who are screaming racism. There was a former prosecutor who argued that this verdict was a legal lynching. There are others who were far less eloquent even than that, who had incredibly hateful things to say to and about the deceased, Austin Metcalf. Here, to me, is the biggest difference. Yes, Carmelo Anthony is going to jail for 35 years, though he is eligible for parole and could get out early with good behavior, I suppose. He chose an action that gets consequences. Consequences are a prison sentence, time in jail. But you know what? He's 19 years old. If he serves 20 years of that 35-year sentence, he'll be 39 when he's out of prison. Austin Metcalf, never mind not seeing 39, he's not going to see 19. In McKinney, Texas, his twin brother, or his older brother, I guess, accepted his diploma at graduation this year. And the Metcalf family has lost a son. And they're angry about it. Because he was sitting under a tent while it was raining at a track meet that wasn't his tent. And it turned into an argument. And ultimately, Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf and murdered him. But by all means, tell me more about all of these protesters who say this carrying out of justice is a miscarriage of justice, is a legal lynching. He killed the young man. Actions have consequences. Good news for Carmelo Anthony. He gets to serve a sentence and then live. Austin Metcalf doesn't get that option.
The secret of a happy...
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
When I'm calling you, will you answer to?
So you go back to 1930s country music, Lance, get out of the 90s genre?
Well, I challenged somebody here, and I'm curious if he has the salt to answer this one.
Okay. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. When it comes to money, trust isn't automatic. It's earned. That's why Community Bank does things the old-fashioned way. When you come to us, we take the time to listen to you and discuss any questions you have. Whether you're saving, spending, or planning ahead, you'll find bankers who know the community because they're part of it. Community Bank, banking designed with you in mind. Visit us in person or online at communitybank.net. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, and I am happy to welcome in a pair of guests this morning. Scott Waller, who is Executive Vice President of MSBA, the Mississippi Business Alliance, and President of the MSBA Foundation, and Courtney Taylor, who is Executive Director at Accelerate Mississippi. Scott, I think you were ready to chime in on the country music.
I think he may have stumped me. The only yodeler I know is Jimmy Rogers, but I don't think that was Jimmy Rogers.
No. You said you knew Jimmy real well, and I'm like, well, this guy, this Slim Whitman, man, that's a good old guy.
Whitman. Brooks and Dunn with 90s country is always safe, Lance. I'm just telling you, we can go that way.
I told him a little Merle Haggard or Marty Robbins. I'd be okay with that too. So,
yeah. Courtney Taylor and Scott Waller, I don't know that you're responsible for this, but I think you did something illegal yesterday. The first sentence of the press release should be illegal for the number of acronyms The Mississippi Business Alliance Foundation, that's the MSBAF, has entered into a formal partnership with Accelerate Mississippi, the state's Office of Workforce Development, that would be the OWD, to support the work of the newly established Mississippi Postsecondary Attainment Council, or MPAC, through MSBA's WorkFuture Institute for Workforce and Educational Excellence. What the heck does that mean?
Listen, I think it means we're trying really hard, and I think we need more acronyms in there.
Could we have some meetings to go along with that?
Absolutely. You know what? Have I got a deal for you, Richard?
I bet you do.
We actually have our first meetings coming up next month. Yeah.
Courtney, let's start there. Let's unpack just a little bit that a less acronymy way. What are we talking about here?
So look, we're talking about bringing together partners from economic development, from workforce development, industry, specifically industry, get everybody in the same room, private sector, to really drive towards the ultimate thing that we need, which is people in the workforce, but the appropriate people in the workforce. We need people who have the appropriate level of post-secondary attainment across all, institutions. That we're not just talking about industrial maintenance and plumbing here. We're talking about engineers and accountants and doctors and specialists and things of that nature. So getting all of those partners at the table to work on strategies to drive that forward. And to drive us forward as a state to say not only what do we need, but where do we need it? How many of the trained individuals and educated individuals do we need? What's the pipeline look like a few years from now? Today's if we built a new company or something of that, or if we landed a new company right now, it's today's 8th graders that would go to work in that. So diving back into the educational pipeline across all levels is really what it is. Look, on the surface, it's just a group of people getting together. That's why the work, what we're doing with MSBA is so important, because we need our industries driving this. We don't need education and we don't need government driving it. We need industry driving it.
Scott, I think sports fans know the difference between Ole Miss and the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation, though they work hand in hand. They know the difference between Mississippi State, the university, and the Bulldog Club, though those two entities work hand in hand. What is the difference between the Mississippi Business Alliance and the Mississippi Business Alliance Foundation?
Well, the easiest way to look at that is to your point. The Mississippi Business Alliance is I often refer to it as the mothership. It is the state chamber. It's the state affiliate for the National Association of National Association of Manufacturers. It represents all sectors of the economy, and it focuses on a variety of things, from public policy to regulations to what they need, and those policies and those things that we work on oftentimes work together with what the foundation does. But the foundation is a 501c3. It's a charitable foundation that can actually do research and focus on looking for solutions and really pick the things that we need to do. And of course, workforce development and educational excellence is kind of what we putting our attention to as we go forward, and how that affects the state's economy. So they work. You're right. They're separate entities, but they work hand in hand. We're all under the same roof, doing the same things every day. But at the end of the day, our members are served by MSBA, and the foundation is there as a support mechanism to allow us to do the work we need to do as it relates to being able to go to Accelerate and say, hey, here's some research we have, here's some things that we want to work on, to go to our community colleges, IHL, and our legislature with that information. It's MSBA's job to push through the policy side of it. It's our job to really focus on what does that look like.
Who's writing checks to the foundation?
Well, it's a variety of people. We have major supporters for our WorkFuture Institute. We have 3 large foundations that are supporting us, philanthropic foundations. We have several private foundations, and we have a lot of corporate support as well. So it's really a varied group of people that do this, and we can always use more. So call me, and I can tell you how you could fit in. But there's a lot of really good stuff going on as a result of what we're able to do. We've had there were 2 foundations that, as part of the merger, as everyone, or just to remind everyone, in January, what was MMA, the Manufacturers Association, MEC, the State Chamber, and the group BIPEC all merged to form
more acronyms
that formed the Mississippi Business Alliance. That's the name of the organization,
right?
And from that, we were able to really focus on how we wanted to structure the foundation to make it more efficient, effective, and actually really accomplish what it should be doing as a foundation.
Look, they had efficiency right off the bat. They took 3 acronyms and made it 1.
There you go. Trying to make the workflow a little bit better there. So, Courtney, Impact, the Mississippi Postsecondary Attainment Council. You said a second ago, this is all about preparing people for work in Mississippi. Is the larger idea here, at the behest of Governor Reeves and others in leadership, Mississippi is aggressively pursuing companies to come here? We have to have people to fill the jobs for these companies?
Yeah, I think absolutely. We also have existing industry here who it's transitioning with technology, growing and developing as we bring in more businesses. So you have, different indirect and induced impacts. We have to meet the companies where they're going, and that involves all levels of education. The companies that we already have, and then we know, staring down the barrel of what we're going to recruit and what's coming in is absolutely going to require more, higher level of skill set, whatever. But we have data. We just have to do better with it. We have to use it better. We have to use it more specifically as we're looking at this. And I think if we do that successfully, then we will meet our companies, both our existing ones and the ones that are yet to locate here where they're going.
It may take a minute to do this, but I think this could be an interesting exercise. Let's take 3 different ages. Let's take an 8th grader, which you mentioned a second ago. Let's take a high school junior, and let's take a college junior. And can you outline for me what some of these initiatives might look like for each of those age ranges? An 8th grader who's starting out, who's got the entire world in front of them, has no idea what they want to do, and is going to see options as they go through high school. That high school junior who's a year away from graduating that, might be going to college, might be jumping into the workforce, might be going after military training. And then that college junior who's like, I got to go get a job.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah, so I think where an 8th grader is concerned, we need them at that stage between 6th and 8th grade doing broad career exposure. This does not look like putting them on a machine of any kind necessarily. It's just here's how the world works outside of you. Here's how you work with your hands. Here's how you do, or here's what an engineer is. Here's what a special, some kind of, osteopathic doctor is, whatever. Just broad exposure, because the jobs are increasingly hard to go see. When you grew up years ago, you grew up in a small community, you could see, the butcher and the baker and the doctor and the lawyer. But today you can't really do that. So get just broad exposure at the 8th grade level. Get them hooked on something other than Instagram and video games. Those are fine things to entertain yourself with, but they got to do something different.
All right. So we'll pick up with the high school junior and the college junior on the other side of the break. Another topic that we're going to get into, hopefully this is not too uncomfortable, there's a conversation at the higher ed level about performance-based funding. And part of that conversation is about producing college graduates that are ready to fill the jobs that are needed in Mississippi. We'll get the MSBA's take on that when we come back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank.
From the Venable.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
We chased Lady Luck till we finally struck Bonanza. With a gun and a rope and a hat full of hope, we planted our family tree.
You can't not tap your foot and nod your head a little bit. It's just the rule. I don't make the rules. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Scott Waller, president of the MSBA Foundation, executive vice president with the Mississippi Business Alliance, and Courtney Taylor, executive director for Accelerate Mississippi, are my guests. Before the break, laid out a question for Courtney in terms of practically filling jobs and training the future. What does it look like for an eighth grader, for a high school junior, and for a college junior at the different stages of life? She talked about exposing an eighth grader to a wide range of what is available to them. When you get a little closer, Courtney, to high school graduation, you've got an 11th grader that may or may not be going to college, whether it's 4-year or community college, might or might not be headed to the military, might or might not be ready to just jump into the workforce right out of the gate. So in terms of some of what Accelerate Mississippi and Impact are offering for that age student, boy or girl, what's there for them? Uh-oh. There we go.
There we go.
Now we got you hot.
So I think, you're looking at the 11th grade level. It is, that's when reality starts to set in a little bit, where they're trying to figure out what that next step is. We've worked with the MDE, and we're working with several school districts along with some community college partners, Build Mississippi, to get what we call just non-credit workforce training in there for those students. But at the 11th grade level is when you start getting their attention, when they say, oh no, I didn't take something seriously, maybe I didn't do whatever. So at that age, they need to be going into businesses and industries. They need to be doing internships. They need to be having summer jobs, things that, and they can do any broader range of things. I jokingly say, like, kids need to be yelled at by somebody other than their parents. And so work is good for them. So they just need to be working, experiencing life. And at that point, it's really figuring out, and for many students, what they don't want to do more than it is figuring out what they do want to do.
Okay.
And then you have the students who know what they want to do, and it's really just supporting them and helping them understand what their options are as they get into the next phase of their life. And so that can look like, helping them with financial aid, or helping them understand work-based learning opportunities while they're in school, whatever. That is, I think, to me, the most critical. 8th grade and 11th grade are really the most formative times to help students understand where we can still help them in a kind of a safe environment before they're out on their own figuring it out. 11th grade, and I'm going to let Scott take this one because I think he had a really good point on the 11th grade.
Well, actually, it was on the junior in college.
Yeah, excuse me, I meant junior.
The junior in college, you mentioned that they wake up, oh no, I got to go find a job. If we have anyone in college, and I view college as all post-secondary education, but we've had anyone in college getting close to finishing what they're doing, and they wake up and go, oh no, I got to get a job, where's that going to be? We have failed them, period. We need to be making sure they understand what their chosen major is, what their chosen track is, what the jobs are within that track, where the jobs are, what are the outcomes in terms of pay, things of that nature. They don't need to be waking up and going, well, I guess I'm about to finish, so I need to just go start looking for a job. What that means is they just went to school, they picked a major, they're going through the process, and they're about to get a degree, and they go, okay, how do I use this? That doesn't need to be what we're doing. We need to be from day one, from the time they set foot on campus, whether it's a community college, whether it's a 4-year college, knowing that this major that I have chosen, or when they do choose their major, they may not do it that first year, which is actually not a bad thing. Let's learn. Let's get some options out there for them when they come in as freshmen to say, hey, we'll get some of our general stuff out of the way, and then we start looking at where we fit, where are we good at. That's how it needs to. There needs to be advising. There needs to be understanding. There needs to be a lot more attention given to what each major actually, what that outcome is. And I think that comes back to kind of your other question that we ended that segment with is, how do outcomes fit into how we fund things? I mean, I think if we have positive outcomes, that needs to be rewarded at a greater level than those that aren't positive. And I think that's the thing that we've got to look at is making a student understand they can choose any major they want. We don't ever want to pigeonhole anybody into anything. If they want to go major in, I don't care what it is, if they want to major in something, they have that's their choice. We should support that. and our universities and community colleges need to work with them. Yeah. But at the same time, they need to, when they say this is what I want to major in, they need to be able to say, okay, well, here's what your outcome can be. Here's what you need to expect. Here's the job categories that this certain degree or certification will allow you to be qualified for. Here's what they pay. Here's so that they understand what their options are, so that they understand they're putting a lot of money in to getting this next level, this post-secondary completion. They need to know what their return on investment is.
Sure. So to that end, go pick whatever major you want. It's easy for us to say somebody that has a degree in electrical engineering is going to go down a path where they're an electrical engineer, and they're going to have opportunities to work with data centers and all kinds of different companies. What about the student that gets a degree in integrated marketing and communications, or gets a degree in English literature? I know both of you have encountered people, and I probably fall into this category myself, who goes, yeah, I got a degree in this, but what I'm doing has nothing to do with the degree that I got. But the educational foundation was still important. What are the jobs that are available to that English lit major or that history major outside of becoming a teacher?
Well, I want to tackle this for just a second, because I think, a lot of times this conversation devolves pretty quickly into this is good, this is bad. And it skips over the simple fact that if you're going to get an English major, liberal arts major, or something, even a basic business degree today just doesn't have the same value that it used to. You have to have the skills alongside it. So if you just get a degree, if you sit in college and have a good time and do whatever and only get the degree, then chances are you're going to be working somewhere for $25,000 to $35,000 for a long time. Now, if you get skills alongside that, so if you learn how to, we need people, contrary to what they think with AI, we need people who know how to write. We need people who know how to think. Like, that is a major purpose of education. They have to be able to do something with those skills. Like, someone has to want to pay them with those skills. So it just really depends. And look, there's a lot of people today who have those exact degrees, and they get kind of fuzzed up a little bit when you talk about it, because they say, well, that's the degree I have and I've been successful. It's like, well, you probably had a network that helped connect you to jobs. You probably had really high-end work-based learning while you were in college. So you did internships wherever you made, law offices or wherever. So it's not that they're just like on their own bad, but if the outcomes from those degrees are generically not good, then maybe we just change that, So I think there's a lot of opportunities for people with those kinds of degrees specifically, but they are not as voluminous as the number of people getting those degrees. So in those cases, we're still treating human capital like a little bit like a livestock operation, where you put a whole bunch of people in it because it's cheap to teach them, and then you just shake out, and the top 10% shakes out and everybody else is on their own. And that's what we want to try to impact across the board is maybe we need fewer people in those types of pathways, because the people who don't have the network or the work-based learning opportunities or whatever, maybe they need to be in more something more driven to a direct occupational need, so that the pipeline is clearer. I feel like I used a lot of words. Sorry.
No, I think I can't disagree with anything you said, but it kind of comes down to the person, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to be driven. You've got to take advantage. Like, here are the opportunities. Here's the framework, but you've got to go do it.
Yeah, but that's not what we tell them. That what we tell kids as a whole, what we have told them, it's changing, and it's changing quickly, is just go to college and you'll be successful. And you have to actually do something in the middle of there, and you have to find someone who will pay you for those skills, or you have to find a way to have those skills make money for yourself. Entrepreneurship is obviously a really good option. It's not for everybody. If you're not a self-starter, you probably don't need to go into business for yourself. So there are options, and Scott said it earlier. We don't want to choose for them. We do want to uncover things maybe they didn't know, so that they don't have to wait until their 30s to figure out what they want to do with their life. And that requires literally everyone. It can't just be the high school teacher or the counselor or even the career coach. Yeah. It's got to be across the board.
And hear the music.
You're
I was
okay.
going to say that the career coach is a perfect example of helping high school students understand it. That needs to be taken a lot further and deeper into the post-secondary process as well as we go forward. So,
if you guys have got time to hang, I'll keep you for just a few more minutes.
That'd be great.
Love it.
All right. Scott Waller, president of the MSBA Foundation, the Mississippi Business Alliance Foundation, and executive vice president with MSBA. I can't even get them out now.
Just say President Foundation, move on.
Courtney Taylor, executive director with Accelerate Mississippi. We're back with you right after this. We'll wrap up the conversation on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Geritol or your Medicare? I've still got neon in my veins. This gray hair don't mean...
From the sea, pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Poets tell how Pancho fell and left his living in a cheap hotel. The desert's quiet, Cleveland's cold, so the story ends, we're told.
See, Lance, I'm supposed to talk, but you spin this record and
I know it.
Sit back in the chair and listen for a little while.
Listen, I'm going to run off some listeners if I start singing.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Visiting with Courtney Taylor from Accelerate Mississippi and Scott Waller from the Mississippi Business Alliance. If you've listened to this program for any time, you know that we get lots of messages on the C Spire text line, and Thomas is one of our frequent texters. He is a bit of a contrarian. He frequently brings up the topic of H-1B workers and the idea that we are investing all of this training and spending resources to make sure that Mississippians who are graduating high school and college are ready to go to work in jobs that are available for Mississippians. And Thomas's thought is that why are we investing in all this when companies are just going to go hire H-1B workers instead? Any thoughts from either of the two of you on how that plays out and what that looks like practically here?
I mean, not to brush it aside, but we don't see that, at least not with the companies we're working with. I'm sure it's a thing, but it's actually pretty difficult to hire H-1B workers in this country, and they're not coming over here to take, they are taking maybe some engineering jobs, but I don't see that a lot in Mississippi. So,
well, I think, Richard, the bottom line is if you look at what we're going to need in our workforce, it's going to require a lot of Mississippians and a lot of people coming into Mississippi. It's that focus on how do we not only retain the talent we have, how do we get attract talent here, and in some cases, whether it's that or just getting people to come from other places from the U.S. to come to work in Mississippi, which we're seeing more of that now. I mean, I hate the phrase brain drain because we, about 3 years ago, did some roundtable sessions with young professionals, and there are a lot of really bright people who've decided to stay in Mississippi or decided to come to Mississippi. So that's a disservice to say that we're losing our best and our brightest. We're keeping a lot of them. We just need to keep more of them.
Yeah.
So I think that when you think about how you do that, it all comes back to there's a word that we really haven't talked about yet. And that's alignment. Yeah, Courtney knew exactly where I was headed because she said it.
Like, here you
go. She said it very. If we focus strictly on increasing post-secondary attainment, in other words, getting more people to have more credentials, associate's degrees, or bachelor's or beyond, then we haven't done our job. We've got to make sure that that post-secondary attainment aligns with the jobs that we have here in Mississippi, and we're making sure that our students that are going through these programs understand what their opportunities are here in Mississippi. It kind of comes back to what we finished it. If the career coach job at the high school level is to make them understand what, number one, assess what their talents and their interests and their aptitudes are in a way that they can then go to the next level of education and be successful. That has to carry on to that next level of education so that they understand when they get get in this program, regardless if it's short term, long term, whatever the case may be, what are the outcomes and what are the job opportunities and what are those skills that Courtney talked about? Regardless of the major, are you mixing the skills that are going to allow them to do that? If we're not doing that, then we've got a problem. But the alignment begins on our end, and this is where it all comes down to it. If we do not have employer engagement in this process, it's not going to work the way it needs to. So what we did is, and this goes just is a little bit of history here. About 2.5 years ago, I sat down with Courtney when we were we were in the process of starting the merger discussions and how all this was going to shake out. And I felt like that the WorkFuture Institute which is part of our foundation, was going to be a catalyst in helping us deal with what I call employer engagement and getting our members across all sectors of the economy to be engaged in the process of how training needs to take place to prepare, future employees. And I actually went and I sat down with Courtney. I said, Courtney, if you don't think this is going to help you, I'm not going to spend the time and effort to do it. And fortunately, she said, it is. We've got to have this. And it's led to where we are today. But the bottom line is, I was in at a meeting in Washington not quite a year ago, and a lady that I used to do a lot of work with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Cheryl Odom, she had this quote that just really, it struck with me. She says, if businesses don't step up and lead, how can we expect education to change? We as business leaders have to make sure that the education community, the workforce development community, understands what the needs are within our businesses if we're ever going to see the change that needs to take place, so we're not just doing things the same way we've always done them. I mean, K-12, you can really look at a lot of things in K-12, and it goes back to how it all started in the late 1800s. Not a lot of that has changed. How do we change that mindset, and how do we get into a different place? I think there is an effort taking place to do that. I think that you've got a real concerted effort among our education leaders to have that happen. I think you've seen it at the community college level. You're starting to see it really a lot more at the IHL level. I think there's a lot of programs that you can point to at our universities that are doing that. We've got to be at the table, though, where none of it really matters. We've got, if they don't understand what the needs of the businesses across all sectors of our economy are in Mississippi, how can we expect them to deliver what they need? So it works both ways.
And you touched on this at the IHL level just a second ago. I mean, do you hear from Glenn Boyce and Mark Keenum and Joe Paul at Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Southern Miss? And I'm not trying to leave anybody else out. I'm just using those three as an example, saying we recognize that what Mississippi needs is more of this, and we are trying to put programs in place to fill those gaps.
I think what I've seen, and I really have seen this, and I'm looking forward as part of what I'll be able to do going forward is having deeper conversations. I've seen a concerted effort to start to think about how do we bring the businesses to the table to have this discussion at the IHL level. And I think that's one of the things that's going to help drive that change, because I think when you understand what is needed, because Courtney said this right off the bat, this isn't just about workforce development or career technical education with what's happening with Impact. Impact is going to look at every single level of education and figure out what our needs are across all sectors. I mean, we've identified just like healthcare, technology, manufacturing. You think about energy, particularly in a state like Mississippi, the energy sector is a big part of that. Those sectors have jobs that come across every segment of post-secondary education, whether it's the certification side, whether it's the associate side, whether it's bachelor's, and in many cases postgraduates. We have to look at it holistically if we're going to be successful in doing this, and I know that we are going to be successful in doing this. And when that happens, this council can go a long way in helping change the trajectory of our economy, because good workforce policy is good economic policy.
I want to hit on one last.
Ooh, can I add something real quick?
Sure.
to that. I think, you asked earlier about performance models, and I think at the end of the day, whether they want to or not is really insignificant, because they're not rewarded for doing the things that we need more of. They actually have to do it at their own peril in the sense of financial stuff. So we talk about performance models across all levels of education. They reward activity, not necessarily productivity and outcomes for the individuals, and it's a delicate balance to get them there. So even the most progressive, forward
it's almost
thinking,
like if the IHL would reward them for doing those things, it would be a little more palatable.
I mean, it's across the board. It's all levels of education.
I said that, not you.
No, I mean, it's fine. I think carrots. We have this conversation about carrots and sticks, carrots, sticks, and spurs, and sometimes it takes a stick to get things done. But a lot of times you can get it done with a carrot, and we just have to get the right carrots in the right place. And we have to have just a metric ton of leadership to do that.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not just IHL. I mean, particularly with the certification and the CTE associates, those are expensive programs. Yep. If they're not rewarded the same way, that you wonder why do they bother to do them? So
I can promise you, an engineer costs more than an English degree to produce.
Yeah. Last thing, we've got a minute left. Scott, you mentioned brain drain a second ago. Is there a difference in brain drain and life experience? And what I mean by that is I talk to college students all the time. Hey, what are you going to do? I'm going to Nashville. I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to Birmingham, wherever. That doesn't mean they're leaving forever. But for a lot of people, maybe if they grew up in Mississippi and go to college in Mississippi, they want to experience something else. How are we laying the groundwork for them to want to come back, but still being okay with them getting that experience?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think that we've got to really be able to give opportunities for them to come home. I mean, I see it a lot. I mean, my son's in his 30s, but a lot of his friends who are getting ready to have their first child or whatever, they decide, okay, I'm coming back to Mississippi.
Yeah.
If we don't give them an opportunity to come back to something that's rewarding, then we're not going to get them back.
There you go. I think that's a good place to leave it today. I appreciate both of you for coming in, for your time, and always look forward to the visits.
Yep. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Courtney Taylor, Scott Waller, my guest. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're presented by Community Bank. Get to some of your C Spire text line messages right after this.
From the Venable Glass.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
And I knew there was something strange about this ride. He said, Drifter, can you make folks cry when you play and sing? Have you paid your dues? Can you moan the blues? Can you bend down guitar strings? He said, boy, can you make folks feel what you feel inside?
Appreciate you being with us on this Wednesday morning. My thanks to Courtney Taylor and Scott Waller for joining us in studio. Kind of a wide-ranging conversation about some of the initiatives that are in place for the WorkFuture Institute, impact going forward for Accelerate Mississippi and the Mississippi Business Alliance. If you missed any of that conversation, you want to take it in, you can always go back and listen online at supertalk.fm. You can grab the show, Mornings with Richard Cross, as a podcast so that you may consume it at your leisure, or your leisure, if you prefer. Jeff, C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. All that reminds me of my little brother. He went to Southern Miss, but after college moved to Memphis, then St. Louis and Chicago, and now lives in Atlanta. The younger generation, I don't know if it means to say likes big cities or they dislike big cities. I guess that question that I asked, I think most of you know my wife has a women's boutique, couple of them. And so we interact with college students, and we live in a college town all the time. I had a conversation with Mark Keenum at Mississippi State about this not too terribly long ago. You've got graduates who are looking for two things post-graduation. Now, some are seriously dating somebody, they're engaged, they're getting ready to get married and start a family, and they're looking for their place and stability right out of the gate. But if we take our somewhat generic recent college graduate, that does not have anything tying them down immediately after graduation. And I don't mean tying them down in a bad way. I just mean period. Like they don't have a reason that they have to stay somewhere. The refrain that I hear over and over and over is, I'm going to Nashville, I'm going to Dallas, I'm going to Birmingham, I'm going to New York, going to California, wherever it may be, because they want a taste of something different. Maybe they grew up in a small town in Mississippi or in Tennessee or in Arkansas or Missouri or wherever it is that they are from. Maybe they grew up in a small town in Texas. And after the college experience at Ole Miss or Mississippi State in particular, which are relatively small in comparison to some of the mega universities, in the neighborhood of 25 to 30,000 students, relatively small, they want to go experience something else. And the thing that Dr. Keenum and I talked about is that's okay, right? You want to go work in Washington, D.C., or you want to go work on Wall Street for a little while. That's fine, and that's not something that we should be discouraging. But what we want to develop while they are in college, working on an undergraduate or a graduate degree, is a sense of place in Mississippi. So that, yes, maybe you want to go to D.C. and work for 2 years or 5 years. Maybe you want to go to Chicago or New York or L.A. or Nashville or Dallas or wherever, Charlotte. But then when it comes time to settle down, you want to go back to the place that feels like home, whether it's the place that you are originally from or you feel like is your adopted home based on the 4 years that you spent, or 5 years or 6 or however long in college, and you say, I want to go back to Mississippi. Well, that's the first thing. You want to go back because of what you experienced. And then the next thing is, do we have career opportunities here that exist that make it easy for you to come back? And yes, there are things like cost of living that work in our favor in Mississippi. It's not as expensive here as it is to live in a big city, but there's got to be more than that. There's got to be more than that. You've got to have those jobs. And I think that's why what is happening from an economic development standpoint is so vitally and incredibly important. And let's just be real. We're not going to realize all of those returns in real time. For some, this is a long-term play for some of these development projects. It's not just, we're going to see a massive change tomorrow. It's going to be over the course of a decade or two, and hopefully we look up and we're like, man, the hard work of investing in economic projects for Mississippi was absolutely worth it. Just a heads up, I think tomorrow I'm hearing we're going to have some news to share with you on the redistricting front here in Mississippi. I'll share with you what I know tomorrow morning starting at 6 o'clock. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Outstanding job as always, Lance. Thank you so very much, and thank you for being with us. MRC on SuperTalk Mississippi. Have a great one.
I might have had a side.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.